Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction, the Armor Wizard, Zap, and Mr. Procrastinator Extraordinaire. We have a body armor demo today. Now, in full transparency, Jacob T sent me this plate almost a year ago to demo, and because I don't really have a list of priorities when it comes to doing all this stuff because it's a hobby, sometimes things get pushed under the rug or stacked on the bottom of the pile, and I forget about them, but I want to get this done so I can get him this hard data. This is from AliExpress. This is a multi-curve 100% pure polyethylene plate. Let's throw this guy on the table and see what we have in store today. This 10 by 12 plate, which we did measure as a true 10 by 12 size, weighs 3 pounds, 2.4 ounces, or 1.417 kilogram for those across the pond. It is 22.6 millimeters thick, or 890 thousandths. As I mentioned, it is multi-curve. You can see all those nice sexy curves. We have one right there and one right there. Now, if this is the first time you're viewing my YouTube channel, we do our body armor demos completely different than everyone else on YouTube. We're after worst case scenario. If there's anything you can take away from my channel, I am out here to see what the upper limits of these designs are so you guys can take solid data away from these things. Since this is rifle armor, we shoot at 45 feet. We also shoot at 0 degrees because that represents worst case scenario. Now, this does not employ a ceramic strike face, so we do not need to drop it on its face 2 times as a preconditioning test. This is solid 100% pure polyethylene through and through. If you see any other manufacturers or retailers striking polyethylene plates with hammers and or hatchets or tomahawks or anything, in the grand scheme of things, those types of blunt force trauma to polyethylene has no adverse effects on it. Now, if it had a ceramic strike face on it, that may be a different story, but with 100% pure polyethylene, that is just marketing BS up the wall. We use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma Plastilina #1 clay from Chavant, and the axes are compressible media to put the body armor up against. It weighs like 90 pounds and prevents the piece of armor from flying everywhere. Again, worst case scenario, maximum energy transfer on that panel. Now, it's the same clay that the NIJ uses, but they use a giant 2.5-inch ball and they drop it from like 6 feet. They measure the dimple after they heated it to 100 degrees, and then they certify that measurement. I'm out here, it's 45 to 50 degrees outside today. I can't do that. I do have a little igloo that we've been heating the clay in so that we should get a representation of what back face could be. If you see something like 60 millimeters in my clay in the NIJ's eyes, that would be failing. We also use a chronograph whenever possible. We have a Pro Chrono Pal Digital DLX as well as a Garmin 0C1 from Bass Pro Shops Cabela's. A big thank you for them to send that out. We got that back in May, and it's been a godsend to have a second data set for velocities. So sometimes that one doesn't read, or sometimes the other chronograph doesn't read, so it's good to have a backup number set. We also put a spreadsheet here at the beginning and the end, and we kind of foreshadow all the threats we're going to shoot at it. We mark our velocities and our penetrations, and at the end we do a tear down to see what the guts of our plate will look like. Now, I only have one of these, so the amount of threats that we're going to be able to put on this plate will be limited, but I think we can get a good shot set on this to see how well it stacks up against some of our other major manufacturers of our PE plates. Again, I want to remind everyone that I'm not an NIJ lab, so if you see threats stopped or penetrated, you should always defer to the manufacturer to produce accredited and recent lab results for those panels. And on the flip side, if you're the manufacturer and you see me stop some kind of insane threat, you should send that off to a lab and have that added as a special threat to your panel. Although these are from AliExpress, the actual manufacturer likely is not known, and you are taking a gamble on these, and doing so, that's why they are likely cheaper, because there isn't a known major manufacturer behind them making them. We're going to start this off right with our level 3 or RF1 and 2 threat in our 30 caliber. This is our M80 ball. This is a 145 to 150 grain full metal jacket from Winchester or Lake City. This particular lot has a magnetic jacket, meaning that if I put a magnet on it, it attracts it. Usually that's denoted as bimetal. We have a 22-inch TC compass, so we should see right around the spec velocity of that. We'll check what the back face is going to be, and then we'll go to some 5.56 threats. 2803, 2763. Easy enough. Shot number 1 and then shot number 2. Place those bets in the comments below. Oh, no pass-through, folks. And our clay is pretty warm still. I just took it out. Back face looks significant, like a large area, but it's not very deep. First shot, fairly low. And if we measured these guys, 14 millimeters, and this guy over here, it's going to be hard because I need to get like something to go from here to here to measure off of, but we're looking like about 39 millimeters on that. Now that is towards the upper end of the plate, but that is a fair shot. Now this is where our bullet construction comes into play. We're on our 5.56 threats. We've got our 55 grain M193 lead core, known for popping steel armor, and if going fast enough, our polyethylene and our ceramic armor. We've got our M855 or SS109, that's our 62 grain lead core with a steel penetrating tip. The core is not steel, it's lead. There's only a tiny tip in there. Then we've got our M855A1. Now what's unique about this particular loading is I have it subsonic, meaning I don't have it at full velocity. I have it under the speed of sound, and this is to represent a engagement of like 6 to 7 plus 100 yards, maybe even more than that. And this is kind of my judge for how good the polyethylene is. Usually some of our higher end US plates can stop this. Otherwise you got to go to thicker. And then if that stops it, we've got our M80A1. $11.24, so we're slightly supersonic with that. $25.44. $25.50. $33.44, so that is almost 100 feet per second over the new RF1 specs. $33.11. $33.42. Now we'll go to our Russian calibers. I would say this could be a common threat depending on where you live. This is 7N6. It's a 52 grain steel core, but it's mild steel core, 22 caliber projectile. We've got a 24-inch SSG 82, so this would be, you know, maximum real world velocity off this. We're not shooting an 8-inch AK-74 SU at it. $29.93. $29.87. Two more shots and we'll go check out the plate. This is our 7.62 by 3.9, our 20-inch SKS. So we're getting good warm velocities off this. We've got 122, 123 grain full metal jacket, mild steel core. The entire core is a mild steel core, not hardened, but you know, it is classified as armor piercing federally because it can be used in a pistol, but it's not really advantageous for body armor compared to a hardened steel core. This is East German surplus. A big thank you to War Pig Armory. If you're looking for anything special wise, they have quite the assortment. I can't say any other words because YouTube might have an issue with it, but you know what I mean if you can read between the lines. Hopefully I didn't just miss the plate. Shot that way high, 24.64. Let's go see what we did, folks. A lot of shots on this plate, but I do believe they're all fair hits, except for this shot of our 7.62 by 3.9 mild steel core. I forgot that it shoots about 2 inches high. I need to readjust that. But our M193 number 1, and then number 2, number 3, that is very close to an edge shot. Our M855A1 subsonic was right there. Then our 2 supersonic M855 from the SBR number 1 and number 2. Our 7N6 was right there and right there. Then our mild steel core was right there and unfortunately right there. Place those bets in the comments below. Oh, Raggy, we have a couple of penetrations here from the M855 as well as the subsonic, but otherwise, oh, we'll have to check that guy right there. That might have poked through, but it kind of looks like it stopped it. Very, very interesting. This polyethylene seems to be doing a pretty darn good job. Looks like we have a very, very low density foam on the back. I think we've saved a couple of the spots on here for some specialty threats, but so far, pretty darn impressed from an AliExpress multi-curve panel. After this thread, I think I have one more, but we've got 8.6 black. This caliber's claim to fame is its ultra fast twist rate, 1 in 3. Looks like a drill bit when you look inside the barrel. I have two specialty flavors here that have been known to pop certain types of armor. We've got a 285 grain solid copper spun round and a 250 grain solid brass spun. You know, CYA, depending on your local laws, loading this in a 8.6 black pistol may not be kosher. 1008. Nice, 853, a little slow on that guy, but very, very quiet. All right, now for the new hotness. This is our U.S. Army's next generation squad weapon in 6.8 by 51 millimeters or 277 Fury. This is the Sig Sauer MCX Spear, the commercial version of the M7. We've got the 113 grain reduced range ammunition. Now, that doesn't mean it's reduced pressure. This thing's claim to fame is 80,000 PSI, and it is north of 75 and just a touch below 80, if I don't want to direct quote that from SIG. We have been seeing over 3,200 feet per second in this 16-inch barrel. Don't have this can for this yet, but I will soon. 3178. Woo! Easy enough. Our 8.6 black copper is right there. Probably not very viable against most plates. And then our 8.6 brass was right there and right there. Then our 6.8 was right there. That's definitely a fair hit. I wanted to be over here. I need to check the offset of that scope. Place those bets in the comments below. No pass-throughs, folks. Now that's very, very interesting. I shot Militex polyethylene plates with our 6.8 and both rounds penetrated. Now, you can see that there's quite a bit of dimple there, but it stopped it. And we stopped our 8.6 brass rounds, which is pretty impressive in itself. We shot those against the Dayton armor plate, and because of how thin their backer was, the bullet was able to break the ceramic strike face and had significant enough mass and proper shape to continue through. Very, very nice, if I do say so myself. Our clay is still pretty darn warm. Back face on that 6.8 shot, right around 30 millimeters. Could be quite a bit more in calibrated clay. I think at this point, this particular plate has proven itself pretty capable of our standard polyethylene threats for RF1. Let's tear this guy down. Paging Dr. Matt to surgery, paging Dr. Matt to surgery. Now, for a fan favorite, the tear down, that's where you get to look at the guts of the plates. And with polyethylene, usually that's about the only material in them. Sometimes manufacturers will vary the material type front to back, but most of our import stuff is not labeled, so there's no way of knowing. Here is our cover. It has a very low density foam on it. That may be why it's hard for me to write on this stuff. If you guys have a suggestion for like a chalk marker or something that I can write on fabric, let me know. Here is our strike face. There's that 8.6 black copper. What's interesting is how far that first round of our 8.6 brass, made it in there. Now, I will print a retraction that second shot of our mild steel core looks like it might have penetrated. There is a little tiny hole right there, but no other observed penetrations at all. But you can see that mild steel core one, for whatever reason, got quite a ways in there compared to, say, that one right there, which was that on top of it shot, and it actually stopped that one. So this is fairly impressive, if I do say so myself. It doesn't appear that it is pressed as one section. Maybe it's autoclaved, and then I'm not sure, but each one of these little sections appears that they are then glued together somehow, and then all of the energy has started to separate them. But this panel is very rigid still. So I would say for a budget-oriented plate, again, I can't dictate what your life is worth, but in the grand scheme of things, buying things with name brands where they're going to send these off to labs and have them periodically checked probably could go a long way to ensuring quality. But if you want a budget plate just to throw in a backpack just because, it may be hard to argue with this one. Well, folks, there you have it. If you stack enough layers of polyethylene together and apply just enough heat and or pressure, you can make those things stand up to some pretty good threats. Although in the grand scheme of things, it's still weak against our M855, even from a 10.5-inch barrel. I am fairly impressed that this no-named AliExpress brand plate was able to stop our new 6.8 RRA round. When we tested the Militech a couple of days ago, that particular plate could not stop it, but on the flip side, it was quite a bit thinner and then lighter than this plate. Whatever polyethylene this company is using seems to hold up pretty well. After throwing all those threats on it, the entire panel still remains very rigid. Normally with some of the other polyethylene plates that I've tested, depending on how many shots we put on there, the polyethylene turns into a bundle of joy after that. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this plate, right in line with what a polyethylene plate should do. Although again, you're taking a gamble on this plate, buying it from AliExpress, not knowing whether the manufacturer does any kind of NIJ testing or not, or if they're just copying someone else's homework. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible, because there's a lot that goes into them. Number one is my family. They are a big help to the channel. Deacon would like to remind you all to like, subscribe, and share this content, so that engage that in a logarithm so that people can find this content, because YouTube likes to suppress gun content. Number two are my Patreon, Subscribe Star, and YouTube channel members. I have a campsite in the description below. There are varying different affiliate codes or discount tracking links in there. They cost you nothing and they earn me a sales commission, and what I do with that is I put it right back in the channel by buying guns or different calibers or ammunition to make these tests possible. You can only imagine how much that SIG MCX Spear set me back. Number three is Jacob. Again, I'd like to apologize to him for taking a year to get this test done, but we got it knocked out. Number four is Warpig Armory. He has been a new source for a lot of my ammunition. If you're looking to pick anything up, you know how to find him. And of course, number five is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.